What are the latest Spurs, Kevin Durant rumor mill going ons? And hey, what about using number 14 to move up in the draft?
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, welcome back to Locked On Spurs, the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Kens 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you all back. Hope you're having a great day. And as always, we thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day, free and available wherever we get a podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Kens 5 Plus app, YouTube. You know where to go. Go subscribe ASAP. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You want to go to FanDuel right now. Customers can get, well, at least new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. All right, so what are we talking about today? We're going to be looking at the latest Spurs, Kevin Durant, rumor mill, rumblings, all that stuff. What is the latest in that front? Is this now like an inferno now? Is this an inferno? You know, that where there's smoke, there's fire? Or is it where there's smoke, there's an inferno? We're going to be discussing that. And then our guest actually pitched an idea for our last segment, which is should the Spurs move number 14 pick to move up in the draft? So we're going to be discussing that and more. He already sent me a bunch of topics he wanted to point out. He says, hey, check out this, Jeff. Check out this, Jeff. So we're going to be discussing that and more. Let's go and bring in our guest. He is back, everybody. He is Mr. Joe Garcia of the Area 210 podcast with the, hey, you got the Pat Riley look going on, man. That slick back hair.
Slick back hair? No, I just got a haircut. I had a lot of hair going on here. I had a fro growing, so had to go ahead and finally get the haircut for the Father's Day weekend, you know.
Oh, yeah, by the way, happy Father's Day, buddy.
No, thank you, man. Appreciate it. It was a good day.
Yeah, it was. By the way, for everybody listening to him, you hear my voice a little shot. It's because I had a long weekend of just talking for hours and hours on end. I was the host of a horror convention. And Joe, man, I went 5 hours straight, no breaks, just next. But I did fan out over Machete, though, Danny Trejo. That's the one I fanned out about.
That's cool, man. Congratulations on your successful panel over the weekend over the Texas, was it TerrorCon? Is that what they were playing?
Yeah, the Big Terror, Big Texas Terror. So
yeah.
But no, I when Danny Trejo came up, he was the last guest on the panel list. And I was already like, oh my God, it's freaking Machete. It's him. It's La Onda from Blood In, Blood Out, all that stuff. So when he came up, I just looked at him. I go, Dan, I got to be honest, I'm fanboying out right now. I can't help it. And then I looked at the crowd and I said, like, don't tell anybody I said that, everybody. And then everybody started laughing. But he shook my hand and goes, oh, you're fine. But man, Joe, did you know he's 81?
Really, dude? He's in good shape, man, for 81 years old.
81 years old. That threw me off. All right, Joe, as always, we appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to join us here on Locked On Spurs. Be sure to follow him on X at Area 210 Podcast. He and Mike Jimenez have a great show. Y'all know where about that. And him and Joe and Mike are regulars here at Locked On Spurs. But we're going to be talking about that and more in just a few minutes. Joe, let's go to dive into the main topic that everybody's talking about over the weekend, especially, and that is Spurs, Kevin Durant. Will it happen? Will it not happen? More gasoline was thrown in that fire, Joe, when ESPN Sharania reported that the Spurs, along with the Heat, and who was the other team? The Timberwolves, I believe it was, were like kind of the finalists. At least, let me rephrase that. I should say on the wish list of Kevin Durant if he is traded out of Phoenix. That's his preferred destination. So the Spurs, at least according to the report, were named in that list. Joe, I mean, it's seemingly to me that maybe there's a chance the price tag can go up a little higher now for Kevin Durant after what happened with the Desmond Bane Magic trade. Are you suspecting that Phoenix wants the price tag to go up?
Phoenix might want the price tag to go up, you know, but it's reminded me of the Kawhi debacle that was years ago, right?
Yeah.
If you're wanting to move one of your star players from your team and you know that he's requesting a trade, wanting to be traded, Phoenix is wanting to get something done from what we're hearing by this week, right? Possibly. I don't think Phoenix has all that leverage anymore. You're going to get what you can get and you're going to listen to the offers and they can want, you know, as much capital as they can possibly garner. But at this time, I think like teams like, for example, San Antonio Spurs,
Mm-hmm.
they hold the power. Not so much Phoenix at this point. So they're going to be able to get a deal, but it might not be what they're quite looking for. But they're going to have to go ahead and at some juncture settle for, hey, this is the best available that we're going to get for Kevin Durant, and they're going to have to pull the trigger. And at the end of the day, they need to stop thinking about his feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's preferred destinations. No, you're a business. He's a tradable
Yep.
asset, and you're going to get the best in return that you can get, whether that's going to be a preferred destination or not. There's no loyalties when it comes to that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a business at the end of the day. So this that we're hearing from behind the scenes of, oh, his preferred destinations, I don't think that has much to do with it. I think it
Mm-hmm.
has more to do with the other teams that Phoenix is talking to.
Yeah.
I think they like to spin that as a storyline, his preferred destinations. Maybe these are the teams that are just interested in Kevin Durant.
Yeah, and you're right. Ultimately, he can have all the lists in the world.
Yeah.
You roll it out, but he's still under contract with Phoenix. Still 1 year left. They control where he will be. Now he can play hardball and then tell that other team. Let's say, for example, it's a team that's not on the list. I'm going to make it up, Sacramento, whatever.
Yeah.
And he can say, well, okay, well, I'm not going to resign. There's that. He can hold that card. But ultimately, yeah, Phoenix can send them where they feel that's the best fit for their franchise, not for him. But so you look across the landscape right now. You had the report over this weekend from ESPN. You look at a lot of betting sites. The Spurs have vaulted maybe to the number 1 spot, according to Vegas odds makers, as the likely destination for Kevin Durant if he's traded. Where do you stand on KD in San Antonio? Let's just say it happened already, Joe. You and I are doing emergency Locked On Spurs. It happened. What would you think your reaction would be?
I would be excited if Kevin Durant came to San Antonio.
Okay.
And the reason behind that is you're getting a bucket getter, somebody who is a better version of Devin Vassell currently on this squad. He's more consistent. He's a bucket getter, can knock down consistent jump shots, he can knock down an open three. He's not going to give you a lot on the defensive end, but he can maybe get you some rebounds and help you go after those 50-50 balls and kind of sway things in your favor. He is one of these players that's going to garner a lot of attention, which means that it'll allow Wemby and some of the other Spurs supporting cast members there to actually work inside the paint and open up the floor and, floor spacing, open up the game for them a little bit more. I think that Kevin Durant, even if it's just a 1-year rental at this point in time, it would ignite Spurs fans because they would immediately think, hey, this team actually has a chance of not only making the playoffs, but getting past not only the first round, but maybe making things interesting and putting up a fight in that second round. Could they get beyond that? That's a big question mark. And it would be exciting for Spurs fans because it would be, if you're getting Kevin Durant, what would the mantra be for the season? Playoffs or bust, right? If not, it's a failed season, failed trade. I think Kevin Durant is quite interesting, and the dynamic of Spurs fans wanting to win now. There's your answer, Kevin Durant.
Yeah, here's the thing. Here's where I stand on it. I'm not gonna be mad if we're just doing a lockdown right now and it happened and we're discussing it. I'm gonna be upset about it. What's gonna make me mad, Joe, is if the sticker price the Spurs paid was way too much for what could be a possible 2-year rental. Do you fear what happened with Orlando and Memphis Desmond Bane trade is going to jack up the price for Kevin Durant? I mean, that was 4 unprotected picks for a guy who was a borderline all-star. You have some fear about that maybe that deal set the market price. If that was a market price for Desmond Bane, what do you think is going to be for Kevin Durant?
Like I said, Phoenix can go ahead and want, everything. They're going to want the house, but it's up to the Spurs not to overpay for players. At the end of the day, if the asking price for one Kevin Durant is too high, you got to move on and you got to look towards the draft and just double down and look. And exactly as our topic is going to be later on in Los, right? Can the Spurs possibly move up in the draft? That would be your play, instead of going ahead and saying, all right, let's give the 14th pick plus, I don't know, let's go ahead and package in Devin Vassell. We'll package in Keldon Johnson, or you can even package in Jeremy Sohan. Any one of these 2 players plus maybe some picks. And there you go. Let's make the deal happen for Kevin Durant. But if it's going to garner 3 players plus picks, first round picks at that, no, man, you got to move on. You got to focus on what's happening with the draft currently.
Yeah. Joe, I'm going to throw out this trade proposal. Let me see if you agree or disagree with it. So the Spurs and the Suns are at the table. They're going to make a deal. Here we go. So we know the Spurs are going to get in return. Like the big piece is going to be Kevin Durant, obviously. All right. So there's that. But would you be okay with Harrison Barnes, Devin Vassell, and the number 14 pick? You think that'll be enough?
I think that'll get you in the conversation. Will it be enough? Absolutely not. They're going to want some more collateral. And what do the Spurs have right now? Tons of picks, and specifically tons of first-round picks. You know, they're going to be 0-2 pick swaps possibly in the future.
Yep.
But those first-round picks are quite attractive, especially to a team like the Phoenix Suns, which are looking like they might want to unload some of their players because they might be in a rebuild mode. You know, and if you're going to be in rebuild, that means that you're not going to be very good for the foreseeable future because you're going to look to the draft to go ahead and maybe get some pieces that you can build around, move away from one Kevin Durant, move away from Book, you know, Devin Booker there, and see what you can, you know, build around some other new players here. I think the first round picks are really going to be either the selling point or the deal breaker.
Yeah, absolutely. He is Joe Garcia with Area 210 Podcast. Make sure to follow him on X at Area 210 Podcast. He's going to brag about his show in just a few minutes. When we get back, we're going to continue our talk about Kevin Durant, Spurs rumors. Then they get into the idea or the topic that Joe proposed, the number 14 pick. What should the Spurs do it? Joe thinks the Spurs should use it to move up. We're going to discuss that and more. Coming next right here on Locked On Spurs. Hey, but first I want to talk to you about FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing. Every night delivers something exciting, highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get into the action with FanDuel. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Which players are showing up to the biggest moments? How could you be tracking their trends and build your next bet? Hey, how could $200 in bonus bets add to the excitement to your first winning $5 bet? Look, you got to read on somebody's heating up. Why not take that and back it up with the same game parlay over at FanDuel? New to FanDuel is the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs. I am joined by Batman himself. Oh, that's not Bruce Wayne. Oh, that's Joe Garcia of Area 210 Podcast. Joe, I got a little confused there. I thought you were Bruce Wayne, man.
I wish I had I did have my Batman mask. I could have put that on as we're going to do the segment.
Exactly, yeah. Remember Christian Bale and everybody like bagged on his voice, like, oh, I am Batman.
No, God. Can't imagine doing that. I have the voice changer, but I haven't used it yet. So,
all right. He is with Area 210 Podcast. Again, we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. So why is Joe here? We're discussing the latest Kevin Durant Spurs rumors. And then in just a few minutes, we're going to get into Joe's pitched topic, and that is just the Spurs use number 14 to move up in the draft. And by the way, everybody, I'm going to hit him with some surprise questions. He has no idea what's going to happen in a few minutes. So stand by for that. All right, Joe, let's go to wrap up our talk about Kevin Durant and the Spurs. Joe, are we at the point now where this is not just where there's smoke, there's a fire? This is more like where there's smoke, there's a raging inferno. What do you think about that? Do you think it's going to happen?
This is the way I feel right now. If I'm the Vegas odd makers and I'm betting,
and they're betting, Joe, they're betting high that the Spurs are going to get him, likely.
We've been down this road before, Jeff. We've heard all the rumors, and this goes back to years ago.
Yeah.
How many times have the Spurs actually gone out there and got a high-level talent other than just, what's the biggest acquisition they've had in the offseason up until this Kevin Durant rumor? That was LaMarcus Aldridge, right?
Maybe De'Aaron Fox. I'll put that up there.
De'Aaron Fox, yeah. I mean, those probably the two biggest names here. The Kevin Durant thing, I don't know, man. I really think that the Spurs are always going to have their name involved in these types of rumors, only because they have a lot of capital, right? They have a lot of assets. They're not even in the first or second apron. They're in really good shape. So the Spurs name is always going to be thrown out there. Now, how likely is it that they will land one Kevin Durant? I'm going to go on record and probably say maybe you got a 50-50 shot.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think it's 50-50 at this point. I think what's going to tip the scales, obviously, is like any smart business, which basically the NBA is, and that's the franchise, which is the Suns, they're going to go with the best offer for them. And right now you're seeing reports of like Minnesota offering like a much better, at least reportedly, a bigger package than the Spurs. Miami is usually what they want to have. We haven't heard anything what a package like that would look like for the Suns, but I just don't want the Spurs to overpay on him. That's the thing. And again, it's no knock on him. No knock on him. He's an NBA Hall of Famer. I mean, sorry, basketball Hall of Famer. He's going to be going there as soon as his career is over. I mean, look what he did last year. Statistically, it was phenomenal. But look, somebody has to score in a bad team. That was Kevin Durant. Now, there are a lot of pros, a lot of cons to this. There's a lot of pros, as you mentioned, right off the bat. He's a bucket getter. He'll get you some scoring. He'll help alleviate Wemby in the offensive end as far as carrying the offensive load. He's a veteran. He'll bring that presence to the court, to the locker room. There's a lot of pros. But the cons are, again, the Spurs can't overpay. Phoenix is going to want to get a haul back. So you just got to see what the Spurs do. Ultimately, I do agree that I think it's 50-50 at this point. I really believe that's 50-50, but we'll see what happens. All right, that's the latest in the Spurs, Kevin Durant rumors. Well, what do you think? Let Joe know on X at Area 210 Podcast, and more of that in just a few seconds. And of course, me at Locked On Spurs YouTube page. Leave a comment there. All right, Joe, let's go into the topic that you pitched before you came on here, and that you're really thinking about that number 14 pick, and you think the Spurs should use it to move up. Why is that hitting you right now? Why do you think that's the smart thing for the Spurs to do?
As we just talked about, the Kevin Durant debacle, that's been, the Spurs have been linked to Kevin Durant. If that doesn't, let's say have legs for the Spurs, deal can't be had, asking too much. You immediately move on from that and you look towards your future. Mm-hmm. Now at number 14, right now, looking at what USA Today has as far as their mock draft, they have the Spurs picking somebody who I thought is a very interesting player, project player, Asa Newell. Okay. Very young kid, That's interesting to me. But if you want to, kind of shake things up and you're moving on from Kevin Durant, you're the Spurs. You have a lot of tradable assets right now as far as these first round picks. Mm-hmm. You have some players that maybe, you can go ahead and move away from at this point in time. Why not move up in the draft?
Right.
If you're at the number 14 spot and you're looking for size, you could move up a couple slots, maybe switch with maybe the Atlanta Hawks there, because Atlanta Hawks right now, they have them projected to go after Noah Esengu, from Germany, number 13. Oh, yeah. If you're looking for size again, you could go ahead and maybe move up to the number 12 spot with the Chicago Bulls and go with Derek Queen out of Maryland. Or you can also have the Portland Trailblazers there inside with you, right there at number 11, reportedly going after Carter Bryant out of Arizona. Or you could go all the way up to number 9 and go with Kaman Malik, If you're looking for bucket getters, and this is shooting for the fences here, swing it for the fences, Jeff.
There you go.
Ace Bailey at number 4 with the Charlotte Hornets.
You could have the number Hornets a lot more than just the number 14.
Yeah, but I mean, they would probably entertain the conversation depending on what you want to give up. And you'd probably have to give up a lot to move up. Let's be honest. Yeah. Even at number 6, the 6th pick, if the Spurs go from 14 to 6, Washington Wizards, Con Kneppel. You need a bucket getter on this team. And this kid can be that bucket getter. Shoots great from the floor, can go ahead and give you a 3-point presence as well. Not bad, but you'd have to give up a lot to move up that high. Yeah. If you want to go up to number 8, okay, maybe that might be doable with the Brooklyn Nets. You could go after Kasparis Jakunis, out of Illinois. Interesting player there. Could be a bucket getter for you. But again, I mean, these are the ranges that the Spurs have to work with if you're wanting to move up from number 14. In order to move up from 14, going up to number 9, maybe with the Toronto Raptors, you'd have to give up not only give up some draft capital, but that 14 pick be gone, and you'd probably have to package in a player or two, something like that, So you could possibly, the Spurs, if they're looking for size and they're like, you know what, we don't really think that Asa Newell is going to be the guy for us, and they see somebody else maybe going all the way up to number 9, that could be within striking distance. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. And if the Spurs feel like that player is going to be an impactful player with this franchise, and is going to fit alongside Wemby, Because let's face it, Jeff, they need an inside presence in the paint. Wemby's not that guy. He's going to be more of a perimeter center, he's going to play the perimeter. He's not going to be inside the paint banging bodies. That's not his style. You need somebody in there that's going to get you those rebounds and bang bodies in the paint. You have to go after another center. So pairing Wemby along another maybe, 6'8", 6'9", 7-foot guy with a large wingspan, another rim protector. I like the way that sounds. If you're the San Antonio Spurs, that might be something you want to go ahead and roll the dice on.
Yeah. Yeah, and I get what you're trying to say, like use it, but I think if they're going to use it to move up, it's obviously going to be based on a need. And I think the biggest need right now, you nailed it, is just that size. Thomas Sorber, you mentioned Derek Queen, Asa Noel. By the way, Asa Noel was my pick at number 14 on the Locked On NBA mock draft. So I don't think they've released it yet, but that's what I did with number 14. I drafted that big man out of Georgia. And because I definitely think this where you need to address the big man spot. If they're going to do that, I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to move up, try to target a big man like that. Or as you mentioned, Malik out of Duke. So there's that. But, I mean, historically, there's been some good players at 14. Bam Adebayo, Michael Porter Jr., so there's still some value there, but those are, some names to keep in mind when it comes to just historic number 14 draft picks. So you can still get a quality player there. Joe, I think ultimately, though, they do move up, whichever team that is. If they decide to go that route, man, it's going to cost something, isn't it?
It's going to cost something, but at the end of the day, you're going to get rid of certain players on this team that might not fit well with the timeline moving forward. And, and you got to think about things in terms of tradable assets once again. Keldon Johnson's contract is attractive. He gets paid less and less as his contract nears its end. Undersized for his position. Yes, he is a good, player that's a role player coming off that bench, brings that energy. But at the end of the day, if you're going to want to compete at the highest level, meaning you're going to want to go ahead and compete with going into the play-in or beyond, you got to move away from certain players. Jeremy Sohan, a fan favorite. Everybody's enamored with him. Oh, they love him to death. He has colorful hair, Jeff, as me and Mike always say. They are comparing him to Rodman because of the hair dye and whatnot. Can't shoot the ball really well from beyond the arc or through, let's say a perimeter jump shooter. It's not really known for that. His presence is more inside the paint, moving well without the ball, being able to get on the break as well. He runs the floor quite well. Right. But beyond that, he doesn't really give you much on the offensive end. Again, if you're wanting to go ahead and compete at the highest level, you need bucket getters. And same thing could be said as with Devin Vassell. Devin Vassell on the floor at the same time with Wemby, it's oil and water. Devin Vassell needs more touches to get his points, and that means that he's going to be taking shots away from Wemby. At the end of the day, you have certain pieces on this team that don't fit well with the timeline moving forward. I know everybody might come at me with the Jeremy Sohan take and say, you're a Jeremy Sohan hater. I'm not a hater on Jeremy Sohan. I'm just stating facts. If you want to be more competitive, you need players that are going to be able to knock down consistent jumpers and knock down an open three. Jeremy Sohan can't do neither one of those two things.
Yeah, definitely the Spurs are going to have an interesting offseason as they shape the roster to get themselves out of the rebuild. We talked about in the first few segments-ish, Kevin Durant, that definitely will help them get out of the rebuild faster. And, of course, moving 14 for a higher pick helps as well. But, again, I think they do that. They're going after a targeted player to fit a need because when it comes to the big man department, Joe, they can address this in free agency. Names like Brook Lopez is out there.
What's the asking price for him, though?
Well, if he's a free agent, the Spurs have the cash to sign him. So we're good on that, unless some sort of sign and trade happens. But barring that, no, I think the Spurs can afford it. But we'll see. I mean, historically, Joe, just look at last year. They traded away their second first-round pick, I think number 8, to Minnesota. So I ultimately think that's what's going to happen. They're going to find a way to trade it, or maybe draft a player on behalf of another team and trade it away. So we'll see.
What's the bigger question here, Jeff, is that Spurs fans don't seem to understand the way that the business works at times. If you're going to go ahead and draft players in the NBA draft, right, you're not going to just necessarily now ship them all the way off to the Austin Spurs and leave them there or sign and stash, stash them away and maybe sometime in the future bring them back here. Spurs don't have that luxury anymore. They don't have the big three. And they're not, let's be honest, they're not going into the playoffs what, for the last 6 seasons or so. You're looking at the way things are panning out right now, and you're going to want to go ahead and draft players. You're going to want them to go ahead and contribute at some point in time when you have them on this team, even if, they're young. You can't keep everyone. And that's the thing that Spurs fans don't understand. If you're going to draft players and you're going to keep looking to the draft to draft, capital and then bring said player on this team, you got to make room. And that means letting go of some of these other players, Champagny, Bassie, Malachi Branham. I mean, you got to let some of these guys go. And unfortunately, that might even include looking at other players that are fan favorites, Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sohan, Devin Vassell. Anybody on this team is a tradable asset for the right asking price, and all I'm saying is at the end of the day, the Spurs might be more conducive to them doing things that Spurs fans hate, like going ahead and drafting that 14th pick and immediately getting rid of it because they're going to get capital for the future instead of getting an asset that they can use right now.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see what the Spurs do at number 14. But Joe, I'm with you. I think if you have an opportunity to move up in the draft, I think the Spurs should do it again. I like the Kevin Durant thing. It just, for me, depends on the price tag for that move. All right. He is Joe Garcia. Let him know what you think about his pitch topic here on Locked On Spurs, his thoughts about moving number 14. Let him know on X at Area 210 Podcast. Also, you leave your thoughts over the Locked On Spurs YouTube page. We're not done yet with Joe Garcia. He has no idea what's coming in a few seconds. We're going to be playing a game with him, a buy and sell Spurs theme. A couple questions regarding the silver and black. See how he does in just a few seconds. And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs, joined by Joe Garcia. He's with Area 210 Podcast. You see the alien trying to abduct him right now. So when you go on YouTube, look for that little alien logo and subscribe to that show. By the way, why is your alien still in Fiesta mode, man? Fiesta's over with.
No, that's how we roll over here, man. We're always in Fiesta mode.
All right. Joe, time to play a game with you here on Locked On Spurs. Buy or sell. We'll ask you a few questions. And again, Joe has no idea what I'm going to ask him regarding the silver and black. Does he buy a topic? Does he sell it? Where does he land on a couple of topics right here on Locked On Spurs? So, Joe, right away, buy or sell. This should be a good one. Kevin Durant will be a Spur next season.
I'm selling, man. I'm not buying.
You're selling. All right. Why is that?
Like I said, we have the odds right now. Me and you both agreed are going to be 50-50. I think at the end of the day, the asking price is going to just be set too high. The Spurs are going to have to go ahead and move on because you don't want to give up your entire future for a year or 2 year rental. It might be a bad bet and you have to move on.
Man, yeah. I'm just that 50-50 thing, man. I wouldn't be surprised if it happens. And then I won't be surprised if it doesn't happen. I'll be like, okay, I get it. Okay, I get it. I'm like right down the middle. I'm going to sell. I'm with you right there. I don't think it'll happen. I think they'll get close, though. Yeah. But I don't think it happen. Think about this, too, Joe. The Spurs have been chasing Durant for a long time, years. Remember right before he left to the Warriors, there was that I'll give you an interview, Coach Pop, because I respect you moment. But other than that, so the Spurs and Durant, it's not the first time they've been linked together. All right, Joe, buy or sell. Mitch Johnson will pan out to be a good coach.
I'm going to sell on that one.
Oh, why is that?
We don't really know what he's going to be able to do. He's young. We've only barely seen him for 3/4 of a season. Didn't really have control of the team per se because, we still had Pop's hand involved there and, the other coaching staff that was there that was handpicked by Coach Pop. There's going to be Mitch Johnson's team. Moving forward here. If he can take this team to a play-in, great. But moving forward, what's he really going to do with this team? I don't know if he's going to be another Spo. Is he going to be another Coach Pop? There's a big question mark. So right now, I'm not sold on Mitch. I'm going to have to go ahead and say I'm not buying this one. I'm selling it.
All right. And one more, and I'll think about another one right now. But your next one, buy or sell that Castle, Fox, and Stephon Castle. That guard rotation will actually work in San Antonio next season.
You said Stephon Castle twice, so you're saying...
Oh, sorry. Castle, Fox, and Harper. My bad.
Okay.
If they draft Harper, sorry.
And that they're going to do what?
Will they work? Will that trio of guards work?
That's a tough question.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'd have to go ahead and say I'd buy that more than I would sell it.
Okay.
You have two great guards there, and both Harper, and possibly Castle there as well.
Yeah.
Castle, if you're looking at the both of them, Stephon Castle isn't that prolific shooter, right?
Mhm.
Not that scorer that Harper is. So that they give each other balance. What Stephon Castle can do is get to the rim with ease and with confidence. Finish. He's a great finisher. Harper's a great shooter. So I think they're going to go ahead and balance each other out, and I think they can coexist. So I'm definitely going to go ahead and buy that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's gonna work. I buy it as well. This is a positionless NBA. Castle can play multiple positions. Harper projected can play multiple positions. Some think he has a higher ceiling than Steph Castle. And of course, Fox, he'll be likely in that guard spot, but nevertheless, at least they have two switchable players in that guard rotation there. So we'll see, but we'll see. We'll see if they even have a second pick. Who knows at this point? So many rumors flying out left and right, but it seems to be the consensus is many report that the Spurs are going to keep number 2 and get Harper. We'll see if that happens. And finally, Joe, your last buy or sell, that Joe Garcia will shave his head like Wemby and join a Shaolin temple.
No, never, dude.
No? What?
No.
What? I think he can survive. You can survive that, right, Joe?
Shaolin Temple? What's Wemby really doing at the Shaolin Temple, man? He's probably sitting down in a room, using the Shaolin Temple Wi-Fi.
Do they have
checking
Wi-Fi?
things out. Yeah, they got Wi-Fi. Was it like, remember Doctor Strange when they were over there in that temple? He says, "We're not savages." They got Wi-Fi in that damn place, man. Come on. Wemby knows he's connected. They gave him the Wi-Fi password. It's probably some mantra or something, that he has to put in. I mean, he's living good right now. He's not out there and, just not, doing anything or not having any contact with the outside world. Wemby's on vacation, man. He's not really in monk training. He's just chilling, dude.
Yeah, they got video of him running outside, but
oh yeah, dude. He's probably playing chess. They're watching TV together. Come on.
That's hilarious. He is Joe Garcia with Area 210 Podcast. Follow him on X at Area 210 Podcast. We've been talking about it all show long, Joe. What is Area 210 Podcast? What is it about? Why should people go subscribe?
Yeah, well, we just talk a lot of things. We talk about sports, pop culture, entertainment, and anything else that the chat, goes ahead and steers us towards. It's a very interactive show now. We have Media Share, which are one of the few, or one of the only ones, I think, that is using Media Share here on a live stream in San Antonio. We usually go on around 10 o'clock if Mike decides to show up on time, which that's the running joke. He doesn't. Monday through Friday from 10 to about 11:30 or so. And like I said, we just talk about the hot topics of the day, sometimes breaking news that's happening during the context of the show. But if you want to be part of the show, join the chat, which gets crazy, but it's a good problem to have. I can barely keep up with it at times, but it's a lot of fun, man. So just come in and check it out, join us. And it's just local area talks, just a bunch of guys getting together, and shooting the breeze.
Yeah, exactly. Go subscribe right now. It's a fun show. I usually go there at least once a week. Join the guys, him and Mike Jimenez, and we chop it up. Spurs, pop culture, movies, bagging on Jimenez as always. We'll think of
cooked.
So cooked. He gets cooked. Oh man, Joe, what a weekend I had. Yep. Are you familiar with the Scream franchise? Scream, that horror series?
Yeah.
So I'm sitting next to David Arquette, right, in the panel.
Yeah.
And he revealed to the audience that originally his character Dewey was going to be killed off in the first movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Yeah. And what else did I learn? Oh, yeah, that Danny Trejo confirmed that he's bringing his restaurants to San Antonio. Look at that.
Yeah, how about that?
Would you be going getting some of those tacos there?
I don't know, man. It depends on what's he going to base it on. Is he going to be that Cali flavor?
Man.
That might not be too bad. That influence. It's different over in Cali. It's not Tex-Mex. They have their own unique style, their own unique flavor. That might be interesting here in San Antonio.
Hey, you know what I found out? I didn't know he lived in San Antonio for a while. I had no idea. Yeah, he told everybody he grew up in I guess technically he grew up. He was a kid. He grew up in the West Side.
Yeah, I knew that, man. One of my friends knows Danny Trejo, and he actually brought. He hung out with them over here in Austin.
Yeah.
And he said that he actually brought one of the vehicles that they feature in Machete. He has that vehicle.
Man, cool.
Yeah. So he has pictures of him and Danny Trejo with the vehicle that's featured in Machete because now Danny owns it.
That is awesome. See, I didn't know that either, man. But yeah, that sounds cool, man. But yeah, I mean, again, voice is shot right now, but nevertheless, yeah, I had fun. Next one up is Big Texas Con. So Joe, I know you go to that one, so I'll definitely see you at that one.
Oh yeah, you'll see me there. I'll probably have like 3 or 4 bags with me because we like to buy our merch.
That's too much, man.
Take the card away, Jeff. Take the card away.
Oh yeah, like either like scrape the floor, like I don't want to go in there. Drag me out.
But it's funny because I'll go and see you right when you're in the panel room, right? Yeah. And I'm showing you the stuff I got. You're like, oh, what is that? Oh, what is that? Yeah. Where did you get that at? And then you go and make your way slowly down to the floor, and then you're like, man, I did it, dude. I spent too much.
I spent too much money. Spent too much money. He is Joe Garcia again with Area 210 Podcast. Follow him on X at Area 210 Podcast. Do that right now. Joe, as always, we thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. Joining us here at Locked On Spurs, and we appreciate it too, man. But yeah, trust me, everybody. Not that I don't forget Joe, because Joe gave me the business last week on his show because I had invited him. It's not that. It's just I know that he's busy, and I'm like,
you're big time me. You're big timing me, man.
No, big timing you is not showing up. This was more like, man, if I ask Joe, he's probably going to say no to me because he can't do it. But he said yes this time, so I'll take it.
Yeah. I'm available in the mornings, Jeff. I just can't go in the afternoon because our schedules won't match up because I work late. And you're around that time, you're ready to go to sleep because you got to wake up early.
Yep. Yeah. So our schedule's like totally mixed up. So we found a little window opportunity. So we took advantage of it. Again, Joe, we appreciate you taking time out. Join us here on Los. Everybody else, we thank y'all for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Free and available wherever you get podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Kensfy, Plus app, YouTube. You know where to go. Go subscribe to Locked On Spurs on the YouTube page and leave a comment. Do that ASAP. We'll be back tomorrow talking all things silver and black as the NBA draft is inching closer, just a few days away, and everything else is going on with the silver and black. Next, listen, go check out Locked On NBA Big Board. That's with host Rafael Barlow. Latest interviews, stats, news, whatever it is when it comes to the NBA draft, go check it out ASAP and make that your second listen. You can find that on YouTube as well. So for Joe Garcia, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.